Folks, this is the fourth week I'm talking about the basics of the Christian faith. Thanks for being here today about growth in faith. Why it's just not negotiable. We have to be growing. You're at the Takeout. I'm Jeremy Williams. I'm the pastor of Community United Methodist Church in North Muskegon, Michigan. Thanks for being here. Hey, in case you're interested, we are going to be worshiping in person next week, Mother's Day, May 9th. Maybe you needed that reminder. Mother's Day, May 9th, worshiping at the church, 1614 Ruddiman Drive in North Muskegon, in the parking lot, weather permitting. We are really committed to being safe, and right now the numbers are still pretty high in Muskegon County. So we are being careful, but we are eager to get together now that the weather is starting to tease us with some nice days. So here's the thing I want to talk about. There's this passage in the Bible. It's from James. James is a letter written by, very likely by the brother of Jesus. And he says a bunch of things right near the beginning in the first chapter. It's only a few pages long. You could read the whole letter. The first chapter is less than a page, so there you go. My brothers and sisters, he says, when you face trials of any kind, and by trials, troubles, difficulties. Anybody got some? Most of us have some. When you face trials of any kind, consider it nothing but joy, because you know that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its full effect, so that you may be, get this, mature and complete, lacking in nothing. And that's lacking in nothing in your spirit, in your spiritual well-being, in your soul. You won't be missing anything if you let yourself become mature and complete. How do you get to be mature and complete, says James? Through endurance. How does endurance happen? Well, it keeps working. And one of the things it sounds like he might be saying is that if growth in faith, becoming mature, happens because of suffering. Things go bad, things are hard, and what does it do? It makes you grow up. I mean, ask anybody who lifts weights, ask anybody who's a long distance runner. Suffering is what makes you stronger. Measure out the suffering over a long time, and you'll get a lot stronger. But you know it's the same in your life too, in everything. Things that frustrated you and drove you crazy when you were a kid, yeah, not a big deal anymore. But how do I go out getting that? And why would I want to? Suffering is going to come, right? But a person who starts with the idea that I can grow through this and I have somewhere I'm trying to go, something I'm trying to become, something I'm trying to work toward, if that's where you're starting, then chances of you getting there through your hard times, through suffering, through things going wrong, through disappointments, in the case of, in James' time, maybe through persecution, getting arrested, thrown in jail for being a Christian, occasionally happened. Most of the famous persecution and all that is really more than a century later, so whatever. Let me skip down to verse 9 in the same chapter. And he says, let the believer who is lowly, and when he says lowly, he probably means literally poor, humble, not important, not well-known, not influential. Let the person who is lowly boast in being raised up, because Jesus raises us up. And being told by God, you are a full and complete and worthwhile person. You are worth love. You are worth life. I want to give you life. I want you to keep it. Whoever you are. Let the believer who's lowly boast in being raised up. And the rich believer, and there are some, think I'm probably one. Let the rich believer boast in being brought low and things going wrong, because that's good for us. Sometime economic bubble that we seem to be floating on for a number of years, ever since, '09, is going to burst again. Sometime things are going to go bad. Sometime all that Wall Street inflation that's been going on going to go poof, and it's going to go away, and lots of people are going to lose lots of what they thought was money and find out it's not really money. And sometime all the things that you think are making your life good and famous and successful and all this, all those are going to turn out to be nothing. Someday your body goes poof and it's not so great anymore and things start going bad in it. These things do happen, right? Being brought low, because the rich, as well as the successful, the powerful, the influential, the self-important, the people with nice cars, whatever, will disappear like a flower in the field. For the sun rises with its scorching heat and withers the field. Its flower falls, its beauty perishes. It is the same way with the rich. In the midst of a busy life, and isn't that our complaint? Man, I'm too busy. They will wither away. Blessed is anyone, this is going back to that first theme. Blessed is anyone who endures temptation. Not just trials, that's what he says the first time, hardships, but temptations. The temptation of money, the temptation of fame and glory, the temptation of trying to be important, the temptation of trying to get away with less than the truth, the temptation to keep rather than give, the temptation to be self-centered rather than other-centered. Yeah, rather than generous. Yeah. Blessed is anyone who endures temptation. Such a one has stood the test and will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. So let's think again about, how do I grow? How do I grow in faith? I grow through hard times. I grow by going into my hard times, knowing where I'm trying to go. And where am I trying to go? If I'm trying to grow as a weightlifter, my goal is more weight. If I'm trying to grow as a long distance runner, my goal is better times, less pain, get to the end. If I'm trying to grow as a follower of Jesus, then the goal is to follow Jesus better. The goal is to live all the way into what God wants, all the way into God's hope and God's plan. That's the goal. Let me skip over to a different book by a different writer, 1 John. So there's the Gospel of John, and then there are 3 letters, 1 John, 2 John, 3 John. This is 1 John chapter 3, starting toward the end of the chapter, verse 23. And this is his commandment, says John, or somebody writing on John's name. And this is his commandment, that we should believe. That's the first thing he says. But it's only the beginning, right? That we should believe in the name of his Son, Jesus Christ, and, get this, and you knew this actually because Jesus says it in the Gospel of John, and love one another, just as he has commanded us. So if I want to become like Jesus, I'm going to become and more faithful to what Jesus is asking of me, then I will get better and better and better and better at loving. And that's going to take practice, because we have a world that really doesn't believe in love and doesn't do love all the time. That kind of puts down love, puts down caring about other people. And caring about other people is something, it's liberal, or it's progressive, or it's socialist, or it's, it's dumb, or it's Christian, or it's foolish, or it's naive. I have this week been called naive. I have this week been called idealistic, because I thought that we Christians, we people in community, we people in neighborhoods around here ought to actually go out of our way to love people. And because I thought that, I'm foolish and naive, because apparently we're not supposed to, says somebody. But if I want to grow, and I do want to grow into what God wants of me, then I have to be pushing the crazy side. I have to be pushing that. I have to be moving myself. I have to be moving our church. I have to be moving even our broader community outside the church, outside myself. I have to be helping to move us all into just what he said there. And love one another. I mean, it's nice to say, I believe in Jesus Christ, but I don't love these poor people. I don't love these desperate people. I don't love these people who have had addiction and violence in their past. I don't love people from other countries. I don't love people who speak different languages. Yeah, I've got to change that in myself. I've got to change that among people I know. I've got to keep working on that. I've got to help us all. It's my job. I'm the preacher. I've got to help us all to love one another, just as he's commanded us. And John goes on, all who obey his commandments abide in him, or live in him, and he lives in them. And by this, we know that he abides in us. By what? By the Spirit that he has given us. He's given us the Spirit, given us life, given us a direction to strive toward. And the direction is more faithful. Spiritual growth is never done in the first year you are a Christian. You may die in the first year if you're a Christian. You'll have to carry on your spiritual growth somewhere else. But spiritual growth takes all the time, all the life, all the years that you have. It's going to take all you've got. It is the lifelong task of a Christian. It involves time in prayer. Sure, lots of churches want to tell you time in prayer, time Bible study. These are the things that make you more of a Christian. I remember hearing that so much when I was young. Let's add this one as maybe even higher on the list than both of those. Service. Love. Service is love in action. So, giving time, giving love, all this is good for me. It's selfish. It makes me more like what God wants of me. It helps me toward my goal of being the best person I can be. Serving others, helping others, making a difference where I can. That's what I am seeking. That's what spiritual growth is. It is your job. If you're not a Christian, I want you to know it is a Christian's job. Not every Christian notices this. Christians, like everybody else, can get really self-satisfied and say, hey, I'm cool. I got what I need. I've got what I want. I've got my salvation. I'm good enough. I'm good enough, feeling morally superior to other people. And Jesus is like, no, you missed that one. Because it's not about feeling morally superior. It's not about following more rules. It's about growing in love. It's about growing to become more like Jesus. And I'm sorry, folks, ain't nobody got there but Jesus. Keep working on it, friends, and keep in touch. Look forward to hearing from you. God bless you.